Though I would much rather be reading Bakudeku, hence the shirt. Nikki asked me today to read Kiri Todo. So hello, and welcome back. Today I'm gonna be reading a fan fiction, I guess, about me and Kirishima.
God, I'm gonna need so much soba after this. Maybe spicy soba. No. Cold soba. Yeah, I really don't feel like doing this.
This should be great. She already picked it for me. It's called Second Chance, and apparently we're already dating. It's a whole thing. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a big old thumbs up. If you're new, you can subscribe and click the bell. That way every single time Nikki posts a new video, you'll get notified. I'll probably be back at some point because I'm literally the most requested. She seems to like me a lot. I don't know what's going on with her. It's kind of gross. Also, recently Nikki and Vanessa have released a lot of stuff, so if you want to check that all out, that's merch, that's a cause and cause Instagram, which you will definitely see more of me. That's also Patreon. If you would like to check all those out, the links are down below. You can click the link in the card code and it will show you everything, and we'll also have resources to the causes that they're helping this month and more information on links like that, like VML resources and AAPI community resources to help stop Asian hate crimes and to help combat them as well. So if you would like to check those out, you can click the link in the description. Just scroll down and hit the Nikki Kavali card code link. Anyways, she also wanted to make sure you know that if you want to see sneak peeks of new designs, you can sub on Patreon. And also, she streams a lot, and I'll probably be there at some point. So anyways, let's just get into this, shall we? Today we're going to be reading a fan fiction called Second Chance by Makeshift Dust. It's on Archive of Our Own. That's where we always read our stuff. Oh, also, if you want to check out Nikki's story, the Clans fan fiction that she's been working on since July, she released 2 chapters on Archive of Our Own. The link is also in the card co as well. It's called Moonlight, and it's by her pseudo on AO3 is Callisto Kavali. So you can check that out as well. She will probably, at some point in the future, release a Bakudeku fanfiction because she has one written. Anyways, this is a Todoroki one. It's 1,547 words, and it was published in 2020 on November 16th. It's a one-shot, so let's just get into it, shall we? Shoto growled with frustration as he set down his car keys, knowing that there was no way he was getting into work tonight with the roads being closed. His restaurant was everything to him. He had put his entire life into building that place, and it hurt to be away from it for a night. He couldn't argue with the weather service, though, and he couldn't just shut his eyes and pretend that there wasn't a blizzard going on. The roads were closed for a reason, and no one was going anywhere tonight. He kicked off his shoes and paced around the living room, radiating nervous energy and anxious thoughts. Shoto was not the type of person who could slow down from— I have to get my glasses. If you see me wearing my glasses, mind your business. I think I've been hanging out with Nikki too much. She's starting to rub off on me. I don't like it. Shoto was not the type of person who could slow down. From the moment he graduated college, his life had been busy. He never seemed to stop moving because there was always something else to do. Most of his work was at night, when his restaurant was busy, but he tended to work around the clock. This constant state of being busy was what had prompted him to start dating a like-minded person who was equally busy, so putting work first would not cause hurt feelings. That person had become his boyfriend and they moved in together. Both of us are exuding big Capricorn energy, just never stopping. You see, sometimes when I hang out with Nikki, she like makes me read stuff about astrology. And now it's rubbing off on me and I don't like it. What's going on? Sometimes I see things and I'm like, big Capricorn energy, and I'm like, huh? What the hell is we doing? I can't. I gotta start hanging out with Mr. Aizawa because Denki and Nikki are just, they're too much. Ijiro was currently in the bedroom, fast asleep and unaware of the blizzard. He owned a gym and worked as much as Shoto did, and his busiest time at the gym was early morning. Sometimes they went for days without even speaking to each other because they both worked so many hours on opposite schedules. It had been a kind of cornerstone for their relationship, this agreement that their careers would come first, and they understood that about each other. Things were great at first because they could be together and do what they wanted for a living, and neither of them minded. Except, unfortunately, they'd both begun to mind. It snuck up on them out of nowhere. Things were going great, and then one day they weren't. They had drifted apart and didn't know when. Their date nights had been sacrificed in the name of improving their businesses, and meals together had become a hurried few bites, if they even ate together at all. It had hit Shota one day. He was driving to work, that they'd fallen out of love. I'm sick of people falling out of love with me. Why can't someone just love me? He spoke to Ichiro that night and they discovered that he felt the same. They had no negative feelings towards each other, but at the same time they couldn't really think of a reason they were together anymore, other than convenience. And so the decision had been made. They would mutually end their relationship on amicable terms and go their separate ways. That had been just over a week ago. In between shifts at work, Shoto had been looking for ads for apartments and packing what few possessions he had. They had decided it was easier for Shoto to move out because their current apartment was near the gym, and that made things convenient for Ichiro. Shoto would find an apartment closer to his restaurant, and then he would save time on his commute. Shoto stared out the window, watching the snow fall on the shining street lamps. You wanna come sit with me? Oh, hi. Cats like me sometimes. You wanna lie on my left side? He did hate to slow down, but tonight there weren't any choices. He sat down in resignation and turned on his computer, thinking he could at least get some work done on his new menus and it wouldn't be a total waste of time. This is quite funny because I can't cook, though I do enjoy the headcanon, and I enjoy the story deeply. I think in a world where I could cook would be cool. After a couple hours, he still hadn't moved from his desk. Ichiro stumbled groggily out of the bedroom to get a glass of water and blinked to him in surprise. "Sho, what are you still doing here? There's a blizzard and the roads are closed. I can't get to work to open the restaurant," he explained, not taking his eyes off the screen. Okay. I should check the weather in the morning then too. If it's that bad, I might need to close the gym." Shoto hummed his acknowledgement, and Ichiro went to the kitchen. Just then there was a quick surge and the power flickered off, leaving them in the dark. Shoto stared blankly at his now lifeless computer. At least he had saved his work so nothing would be lost, but now he couldn't continue. What a waste of time tonight was turning out to be. Ichiro sat down on the couch with his glass of water, looking out the window into the darkness. The streetlights were off, and the only visible thing was the snow falling close to the window. The apartment was eerily quiet, and the large snowflakes could be heard thumping against the glass as they fell. Shoto joined him on the couch, also watching the snow, and for a long time they said nothing and simply watched. After Shoto shifted uncomfortably, he pulled out the phone out of his pocket, only to find the battery had died. "I don't think the power is coming back on," he said, getting up. "Maybe I'll head to bed." Ichiro stopped him by grabbing his hand. "Not yet," he said. "Just stay here a little longer." Sounds romantic. Shoto sat down again, and they continued to watch the snow. "This is nice," Ichiro said. "What is?" "Just being here with you, with nothing to do, just being together." Shoto nodded, and then realized Ichiro couldn't see him in the dark. "Yes," he said out loud. "It is nice. Reminds me of when we went on our first date. Remember, we hadn't bought our phones or anything. We just sat outside together and watched the stars." "I remember," Ichiro said fondly, then suddenly sniffled. "What happened to us, Sho? How did we get so far away from that?" "We're doing other important things," Shoto reminded him. "Your gym is a huge success and my restaurant is one of the top 10 in the city. We couldn't have done that without all the hard work we put in. We did the right thing." They sat there in silence and the wind picked up outside. The snow was still hitting the window and there was more of it now, enough to block off the window and create a barrier between the apartment and the outside world. "I'm not so sure," Ichiro whispered softly. "About what?" "I'm not so sure we did the right thing," Ichiro admitted. "I really miss you." "I'm not crying, I have a piece of dust in my eye." "I really miss you too," Shoto replied, hesitantly and afraid of being rejected by the person he barely knew anymore. He scooted closer to Ichiro on the couch and reached out for his hand. Ichiro not only let him take his hand, but squeezed back, and if the lights had been on, Shoto would have seen a smile on his face. Then again, if the lights had been on, they wouldn't have gotten to this point in the first place. The power stayed out for a full day and a half, and during that time they simply sat and talked. They got up occasionally, grabbed snacks in the pantry, and they lit candles so they could see better. At one point, they pulled out a card game and gave up when they couldn't remember how to play it. It was as if they were meeting again for the first time and getting to know each other all over again. When it got too cold, they snuggled under a thick blanket, wrapping their arms around each other, even though they felt shy and awkward about it. It had been so long since they'd touched each other, and this way it felt foreign to Shoto, but it also made him feel more alive. There was no work and no email and no schedule, just the two of them existing together. On the morning of the second day of the lights flickered back on and the electronics roared to life. Shoto fought down the surge of disappointment. He didn't want this to end. Ijiro came back from the kitchen, the same look of fear and disappointment on his face, and suddenly Shoto had an idea. He jumped up and walked quickly to the gray box containing the breakers for the apartment and flipped the main one off. The power disappeared again, and Ijiro stared at him incredulously. What? Why would you? Shh, just a little longer, said Shoto. Eventually, they turned the power back on and faced reality, and the decision had been made. Different this time. Better ones. For example, they decided not to break up. Venus? I think she's stuck in between the door and the bed. Please give me a moment. She's been taken care of now. Back to the story. Better one. For example, they decided not to break up and Shoto didn't move out. It turns out when someone owns a business and has a lot of money, that person can hire managers to help run businesses. This concept was alien to them both and would take some getting used to, but they had each accomplished their goals of creating a successful business, and now it was time to put their relationship first. Every year going forward, they shut off the power on that particular day as a sort of new anniversary. It was a reminder of just how close they had become to throwing it all away, and how fortunate they were not to have lost each other. That was extremely romantic, and now I see Ijiro in a whole new light.
What am I gonna do? How am I gonna talk to him? How am I gonna see him? Oh my god, no!
Okay, Bakugo, I'm feeling.
Jesus Christ, I told you not to read fanfiction.
Thanks so much for watching. Remember to stay safe, do your homework, and drink water. If you want to follow any of Nikki's socials or anything like that, they're all in the link in the card code down below. You can get the merch and everything. You know, maybe I'll convince her to make Todoroki something once. Yeah, that would be cute, right? The Todoroki one. I gotta go. Bye.